Well, hey there, everyone. This is Amy Wenslow. We had a little technical glitch with the product business show this morning, so the Facebook Live kind of was a little challenging. So I thought I'd jump on and kind of recap the show for you. We had a lot of people on from all over the United States. We had international people joining us too. And the product business show is a show that is a community of product creators with heart and just it's just so awesome. I love that group. So we've been hosting the show for about 5.5 years now, I think. Today was show 145, and it was all about partnerships for your products. So I'm going to jump in here in a sec, and we're going to talk about the different types of partnerships and how you can structure them and really what you should be looking at. And then I'll recap some of the questions that we got asked. And if you want to join us for any upcoming shows, just go over to productstoprofits.com/slash business dash show to get on the reminders list, and that'll tell you the topics and the call-in information so you can join us that way. So the product business show is a labor of love of mine, and we're a consulting company, Products to Profits. We help bridge the gap between early stage prototypes and struggling companies to having a sustainable business that's thriving and growing. So we get to see a lot of different things, a lot of different partnerships, a lot of different ways of working together, and here's what we've seen. So first off, let's talk about what a partnership is, right? And so come on in, grab a pen, and join us. So partnerships can be ranging from co-founders, strategic alliances, joint venture partners, and even investors. Those are all forms of partnerships. You can also view some of your paid services as a partnership as well, like a prototyping company that you may be using or someone who may be working on your packaging. Typically, the reason you would bring in a partner is because you want something to be easier, you want to move faster, you want some help, some connection, maybe some experience that you don't have, or there's a skill set that you need and you want some support. Now, given that those are the outcomes and the experiences that you want, how do you get there, right? Like, how do you actually get that to happen? So here are a couple things to think about beforehand that really smooth your way and make sure you don't end up in a bad situation. You want to think about what needs to be done. What are the skill sets? What are the roles? What are your expectations around timing and any sort of communication, right? Now, I mention this because your expectations and setting those beforehand help you craft a good agreement. If you have a vision that says that you and your co-founder are each going to take on certain things and have them done in a certain amount of time, it's really important to have the conversation and to be clear about that. If you have a hard time actually asking for what you want and communicating really clearly, then this is going to be an area that's going to maybe feel a little uncomfortable. But frankly, you have to do it because it's the thing that will prevent you from being disappointed later, okay? Really important. So some areas that people will back away from discussing are anything around money. If you're looking for them to put in a certain amount of money and you're going to put in a certain amount of money and you're both going to take on, like they're going to take on part XYZ and you're going to take on part ABC, and that should happen in some sort of coordinated fashion, you have to actually have the conversation about it and step in and have the courage to do it, right? You're going to hear me mention courage a couple times probably. So the biggest thing you can think about is, what are your expectations? What's the time that you envision them spending? What's the type of skill set that they're going to be doing? And what's the outcome that you both want, right? So there's a couple things that you can think about when it comes to, well, what do you offer them, right? How do you get somebody to be a partner of yours? You can offer to pay them for their services, right? Pretty clean. And then there's usually a scope of work involved or some sort of agreement around what the deliverable is, right? There's also maybe an equity agreement. that's something that's a future payoff. Now, I want to say a couple words about this. Equity is great when it happens, right? When it pays off. But in the meantime, if you're working with somebody and you are just equity partners, they have maybe a percentage of stake in the business, but they need to have cash flow come in, it can be a problem for you because your project will inevitably get pushed off in favor of the one that's going to pay their bills. Okay, so keep this in mind. If you're offering equity, know that you're going to have to be flexible about time and expectations. Okay, and there's some more I can say about that, but if somebody wants, just type a question in the Q&A box and I'll answer it over there. Some of the other payoffs that you could have would be using your social capital for them. So if you have a lot of followers on social media and that would benefit them some way, you can absolutely offer to use that. You know, hey, I'll post for you, I'll do this for you over in my social media, or I have access to interviews that you could do. Maybe you even have speaking opportunities, right? We have some people that are on the show that love what we're doing and they know different business groups that we should be in front of. So they'll make recommendations. Hey, you know, I could introduce you to so-and-so for you to speak at their group. Those are all ways of contributing back to somebody, okay? The other thing is staying current. Now, this is interesting as something you can offer. People overlook it. There's so much technology out there right now that we all are supposed to be paying attention to as business owners, or feel like we should be, right? It's really hard to do on your own. And if you're really busy, then having somebody who's out there who's trying different things and kind of giving you the feedback back about them can be of value too. So if you're the person who's out there looking at different pieces of technology and you're willing to tell your partners about them, then that can kind of be a way that you can contribute a bit towards them. So next, we're going to talk about how on earth do you structure the partnership, right? First off, in writing, please, in writing. And that means play the tape the whole way through. What I mean by that phrase is you can structure it formally or informally, but you still have to structure it, okay? Typically, the best way is to start with conversations and say things like, I'd love to partner with you on this project. I see you're really good at blank skill. I'm really good at this other skill. We would make a really strong team. What this could look like is maybe 2 hours a week of your time on the project. What do you think it would take, and how many weeks do you think it would take? And what I can do for you is blah, 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 right? Or you could also say something like, what I'm willing to do is share the equity of the company, and we can come up with what that looks like. And then you want to actually have the conversation around money. This is one where people will shy away from getting specific or from talking it through. You have to do that. That's part of you being in business, is to have that level of conversation and to become comfortable talking about money, okay? Talking about what you want to have happen, all right? Now, if you do it as a conversation, you should at least follow up with an email that is very clear about what expectations are, okay? For both sides, right? This isn't just about you. This is for both sides. And I would recommend that you include something about it being reviewed again in 6 months. You know, well, let's try it this way and we'll talk about it again quarterly or in 6 months, because one of the big problems is how do you get out of the relationship if it's not working, right? We advised somebody who had just gone into a relationship with someone who was supposed to help her with QVC. Now, I happen to know QVC very, very well. We worked on a line that did a lot of money there, and they didn't put in any sort of exit clause or any of that in this partnership agreement that they had done before we met. Now, what that meant was that this person that I was talking to and advising was actually bound to this arrangement around the QVC account, and it was exclusive, and it was this and it's that, and it didn't happen. Well, the person that I was advising over the course of about a year and a half had to actually dissolve her company to get the agreement to basically go away. She had to dissolve the company and then start again under another name and put the intellectual property transfer. It was a mess, right? So it was expensive, and it cost a lot emotionally as well. So you actually really should be thinking about that when you go into a partnership agreement. Not that you want it to go away, but you want to actually think it through. Okay, let's review this in 6 months, and we'll see if we're going to continue. Okay. Now, so always have the conversation, follow up with an email. You may want to have a contract drawn up. Okay. It just depends. Some of the questions from today were really juicy. One was how to find investors. So here are a couple suggestions for anybody who's looking for investors. You can find them on angellist.co. iFundWomen is a great crowdfunding platform that I'm really liking. I'm getting to know the founders a bit. It's specifically for women-owned business. There's also local investor groups. Keiretsu Forum, Golden Seeds is another investment group. They're focused primarily on women-owned business. ACG, which is the Association for Corporate Growth, has investors around it. Here in Los Angeles, there's the Los Angeles Ventures Association. There's pitch contests all over the US at this point, and there are angel investor groups pretty much in every major city. So you're just going to need to do some legwork. And first and foremost, when you start talking to them, make sure you have your pitch dialed in. We just actually wrote a pitch for a client that is going to go on the Elevator Pitch TV show later this week. So you should be mentioning some really good statistics and have some really compelling market numbers. And there's different ways that you could get that. Now, another question was around selecting a charity partner for social impact. Charity partners are as protective of their reputation as you are of yours. So they will want to make sure that you're legit as much as you want to vet them. You're going to want to check things like what's their track record on actually getting money to the cause that they say. You're going to be thinking about how do you structure the deal? Is it a percentage of your profits, or is it a percentage of every sale? Or are you going to use the Tom Shoes model where it's a 1-for-1? Somebody buys one, you give one. Those all have different impacts on your profit margin and your viability as a business. So you need to take that into consideration. The other way that you want to pay attention to how you choose your social impact partner is you want to make sure it's important to your market. Yes, you should like it, but it's more important that your market really likes that initiative, right? Because that's how you're going to use it, and that's how you're going to make your difference. Keep in mind that the charity really is looking for contributions. They're looking for funding, and they're looking for money to flow to them. So keep it in mind, right? Like, figure out a way to have that happen. Let's see. Then there were 2 more questions. So how do you choose a manufacturing and marketing partner like a JV, and is it a percentage of equity? And so we had a lot of conversation around this one, but the short answer is you look for someone with complementary skills, that your product may be a nice line addition for them. And you're going to want to make sure that you structure it either cleanly as a joint venture with you keeping the manufacturing or the part that you like and them taking the others. You could have payment into you. There's a lot of different pieces. So how do you choose it? You choose the one that you think has the best chance of success for what you're trying to do. We do a lot of coaching around this, a lot of consulting with our clients about this. And then the last question was, how do you get out of an agreement, or what do you do when a partnership kind of goes off track? Well, first off, again, this was another one we had quite a bit of conversation around. You have to actually have the courage to have the conversation, because it can be uncomfortable. And you don't want to say that you're fearful about it or that you have concerns, but you really need to. And that should probably be done in a meeting, not over email. A lot gets lost in email and text. Um, if it's not a face-to-face meeting, then at least over the phone. We do that for clients. For consulting clients, we'll sometimes step in and be in one of those meetings to help facilitate it. The other thing you can do is, if it's for prototyping or early manufacturing, sometimes it really helps to just go there and be with them face-to-face for a couple of days. It can really speed things up for you and make it much, much easier. So when things go off track, you want to see, first off, you want to look at your own actions and see if there's something that you can adjust. And then secondly, you're going to look at what can you put in place as clear communication. Okay, so those are just a couple of the things from today's Product Business Show. I'd really encourage you, go look at the blog. We will do our best to put the audio recording from the whole show over there, but it may take us a little while, and we have a lot of content going on. So all that said, I'm really glad that I had a chance to jump on and at least do this little piece for you. There was a lot. It was a 45-minute show, so you're getting the short version of it. But join us over there. The Product Business Show is your community for other product creators and you to feel a sense of rapport and get some really good quality information at the same time. And it's free. Talk to y'all soon. Bye for now. This is Amy.